No, you're not going in.
We actually are?
No, you're not.
Yes, because you're squatting officially.
The tenant was given a generous 15 months to move out, and the new owners have a demolition team booked and ready to go. But the tenant's been reluctant to see his beloved rental consigned to history, believing it to be of historic value. But appearances can be deceiving. Although it may at first look like something out of a fairy tale,
Where's the baby?
this isn't the dream home the tenant likes to think it is.
Hello?
Are you home?
This house has been heavily renovated over the years and is suffering from structural damage.
It smells.
Yeah,
It smells of damp.
it's been leaking for a long time.
The tenant has also had the weekend rent-free to allow him to pack up and go, but it looks like business as usual at Enfield Villa.
No, nothing's really changed. Nothing's gone. He's a squatter. Officially.
The currently absent tenant may have a thing for the creepy and the kooky, but proves no shrinking violet.
She's still here and not paying rent.
And with the wreckers due to commence destruction, playtime's over.
He's moved nothing really at all. So we've got to get all the stuff out of here so they can bowl this house ready for the rebuild. So I'm going to have to contact him and request that we dispose of everything in the property. I'll try it that way first, and if not, we have to do a trespass notice against him. It's Prue Morrell calling you from Good Girls Property Management. We're down at the property and I see there's been really insignificant progress in your departure. I'm about to change the locks.
The locksmith reveals even more horror for Prue and the property owners.
Well, he's made significant progress in here. Oh, it's the tenant.
The tenant tells Prue that he's aware of the imminent destruction of the house and claims to have plans in place to get everything cleared out overnight.
Well, that's it for that haunted house. Woo!
It is kind of creepy, isn't it?
Hopefully the only thing going bump in the night will be the sounds of the tenant moving boxes.
So he'll be back and he'll be working very hard tonight.
Because it's coming down tomorrow.
The wrecking ball.
Friday night there was a fire at a really good restaurant in Hamilton.
Sue manages 2 apartments above the restaurant, both of which have suffered damage. Sue is meeting one of the tenants who has returned to his apartment to pick through the waterlogged remains.
Hello. Oh my gosh. Oh, Adam.
Adam the tenant was, up until Friday, living the sweet life in this first-floor bachelor pad in the heart of Hamilton's bustling downtown district.
Oh gosh. Oh my gosh.
But in just one evening, all that changed.
Oh, Adam.
Did you wipe your feet?
Adam's apartment now smells like the inside of an incinerator, and everything from modern appliances to weaponry is ruined.
Is that wrecked?
Yeah, it fell off the wall when they were banging around and knocking stuff through.
Sue likes to take care of all her tenants, but right now, Adam is her #1 priority, and Sue wants to do everything she can to set things right.
So, were you here? Were you lying in bed?
Yeah, 2:30 in the morning, Friday morning. Yeah, I was asleep and then power cut out. And I woke up and I got dressed. I thought it might have been people messing with the power supply.
Ah, yes, yes.
They got up there to give them a yelling at and bowled into a fireman.
Imagine it.
Looks like we've got an abandonment. The guy's headed off overseas and left all his belongings behind.
First glance, nothing appears too out of the ordinary.
The place looks like a bit of a disaster, but we see people living like this all the time.
Until Jared finds an ominous note left by the tenant.
Yeah, diagnosed with terminal cancer, gone back to Asia to die with family. Please donate my possessions to City Mission. Goodbye. It's like, well, he could have emailed that.
Perhaps the tenants just preferred a personal touch. Or perhaps it's all a red herring. With only his words to go on, Jared suspects they may never know.
Tracking someone down that's gone to Asia is difficult, so it could just be to put us off the scent.
But while the tenant might be gone, he hasn't managed a clean getaway.
He's left in a hurry. He's taken, from what I can see, a suitcase or maybe a little bit more of belongings.
The unit is in disarray now, but Jared and Aaron are property management pros who know a thing or two about getting busy. And clearing out the apartment provides an opportunity to sift around for any intel as to the tenants' whereabouts.
We treat people's personal space very carefully. In a situation like this isn't personal space any longer. He's abandoned it. XXXL. He wasn't that big, was he? If we can find any clues to him staying within New Zealand, then it is worth us getting an order in his name, so he then is less likely to try this again with someone else.
Although frustrated by a lack of viable clues, Jared and Aaron can at least now move on to creating an appropriate environment for someone else to inhabit.
Interesting keyring. Yeah, I don't want to know what it is.
The ex-tenant also owes a week's rent, and Jared's priority is to get this apartment back on the rental market.
Frustrated because of the distraction. We'd much rather be taking care of other problems for good tenants. 6 bags of rubbish, 4 boxes of personal belongings that to be donated.
Luckily, the runaway tenant's bond will cover the rent arrears, and with the apartments in this building in hot demand, finding someone else to move in should be as easy as taking out the trash. In Hamilton, a kitchen fire has taken out a well-known inner-city eatery, as well as the 2 apartments above it, both managed by Rentworld's Sue White.
Oh, gosh.
Sue is visiting both apartments to assess the damage, at the same time as one of the tenants.
Is that wrecked?
Yeah, it fell off the wall when they were banging around and knocking stuff through.
What hasn't been damaged by smoke and fire has been finished off by the sprinkler system and fire hose.
So this is all water damage here.
So it was in about like an inch of water. That corridor, the kitchen corridor, was flooded.
If Adam seems unusually chilled out about the massive upheaval in front of him, it's because he's had plans put in place for just such an event.
The saving grace?
Insured? Yeah.
You're insured.
Adam has an insurance policy that covers loss of contents due to fire.
That's what they need. They need your tenancy agreement.
Yep.
And with Sue's help, Adam's insurance company will reimburse his losses and pay for the costs involved with moving to temporary accommodation, while repairs to the building get underway.
The engineers have said that the whole roof's got to be ripped off, so there's going to be a fair bit of work done to this place.
How long do they reckon?
They said 4 weeks. Yeah.
I would say probably 3 months.
I'd say at least 3 months.
But while Adam's insurance will help him through, his neighbour won't be so lucky.
This gentleman here doesn't have insurance, which means they don't get put up anywhere, they don't get nothing. Squiddly.
Squiddly might also describe the seemingly minimal fire damage next door. But what the eyes can't see, the nose knows.
Stinks of smoke. I spoke to this tenant about did they have insurance, and he said no, and then asked if we would give compensation, and the answer to that was no too, because I actually didn't come in and burn it.
But back next door, Adam can stop, drop and roll on into a new rental relatively hassle-free.
Adam's stuff is all being cleaned, thanks very much to his insurance company. And we are moving him down to another apartment in Victoria Street, and he will stay there until this one is ready again, because he wants to come back, because he loves this place. So he'll come back here and everything will rock on as normal.
In Christchurch, Prue Morale and the team at Good Girls Property Management are overseeing the last days of a leaky house built on the foundations of a 19th century workers' cottage.
You can actually see what the earthquake did, you see? It's rotted everywhere. It's a true shame. It's been leaking for a long time.
But the remaining tenant, whose lease has now expired, hasn't been enthusiastic about leaving his leaky pile.
He's a squatter, officially.
With the property scheduled for demolition, the tenant promised Prue to have everything gone overnight. So next day, Prue and fellow good girl Siobhan pop round to make sure the now former tenant has stayed true to his word.
So we just want to check progress, see where we're at. G'day. God, you have made progress.
So far, so good. But then
No, you're not going in.
We actually are?
No, you're not.
Yes, because you're squatting officially.
No.
Yep.
You've not issued me a notice. Have you?
Your lease ended on the 8th.
Still paying rent.
Mutual agreement. No, you're in arrears. You're in arrears, $300. Yes, you are. And I can charge you rent even for today.
Fine, it's already paid.
But I've changed the locks.
He may be up to date with rent money owed, but he's still well behind on moving out.
This was a mutually agreeable end. You agreed. You came up with that date. I took that to the owner. The owner agreed with your date. You chose the date. I've got it written, dialogued and timed.
So what about the breach of changing the locks?
There's no breach. The property belongs to the owners now. The property has been handed back over, officially. So we need to be able to get in there and just check the property, make sure everything is out of there, because we don't want any of your personal items. That is very important.
Perhaps sensing his argument crumbling like the exterior of the property in question, the tenant agrees to get a move on with moving out.
What about around the section? Are you taking that away as well?
Yep.
In the end, in the final? Okay, thank you very much. That's good.
All the rubbish, that's what I said,
Yeah.
what we've talked about. And
Okay. Well, that's
that's
a very good ending.
After finally getting the tenant out, the owner's plans have hit another snag. 2 weeks later, most of the surrounding woodland has gone, but due to an 11th hour stop work request from the Christchurch City Council, the house is still standing, despite the council originally giving approval for its demolition.
Because some of the property was built pre-1900s, we've now also got to get an archaeologist so she can check the property. So we'll just see how this goes. Oh, you've got the boots on.
Yes, you're in those practical high heels.
Yeah.
Archaeologist Catherine Watson is here to write up a report for Heritage New Zealand to see whether the house should be saved from demolition after all.
Pop on in, darling.
For this to happen at such a late stage is a frustrating and nail-biting experience for the property owners. If Catherine's report certifies the house as historic, their plans to rebuild on the land are history as well.
What aspects in this room? Obviously not the drapes.
No, not the drapes, not
No.
the cornices or the ceiling rows. They're all someone's attempt to make it into a character villa. They would be late 20th century, mid to late 20th century, I would say.
While the fittings may no longer be on trend, they aren't old enough to be of historic value.
This obviously later edition.
Much later. Much later here.
And you can see in this room, in fact, this is where they've cut out the original front elevation. So they've extended it just a little bit further north.
Catherine thinks the house has been renovated too many times over the years for it to justify preservation, apart from some remnants of the original materials.
Some kind of timber lining up there, whether it's match lining or more of the rough sawn boards.
So that means that once the appropriate reports are filed and documents signed, the house can come down. And after all the false starts, Prue isn't about to miss out on the action.
So we're actually pushing the old joint over today. And an archaeologist on site, so if anything at all is seen of any interest to Heritage New Zealand, they stop. So, let's all go.
Archaeologist and history buff Francesca is on site to make sure no items of value are consigned to the landfill of history.
Is it cool if I jump in there and get a photo of what you've exposed?
Yep.
She'll be stopping that digger driver midstream if she believes there's anything at all that could be of interest.
Archaeology is about the study of the people. So, yeah, we're trying to see that through the building materials. Yeah.
Quite something to behold. History in the jaws of the digger.
Well, at the moment, he's exposed the floor structure and the roof structure. So we're looking for any covered-up material. These are the original timber shingles that originally lined the roof.
And the digger driver's been extraordinary. It's like he's plucking little bits out for her to view and see so that it can all be catalogued, which is brilliant. Gosh, she even drops that whole wall with an element of elegance. It's extraordinary. It's like demolition in stilettos.
Francesca gives the go-ahead to take out one of the later additions to the house.
This is it. Go for it, the archaeologist is saying. I'm glad it's been demolished with the drapes included. They're the worst drapes I've ever seen. Well, you can see the old original fireplace. This will probably reap more rewards demolished than it ever did while it was standing.
After taking notes on the chimney, it's down to the final push.
Well, it's quite a moment because we've had a fair swag of issues along the way, and we've done all the right things, and so have the owners. So it's fantastic to see an end to this particular and very stressful project for the owners. Razed to the ground by the creative genius as he plucked board by board with great sensitivity. Found a few bits of interest within the property, but I think the majority of it is going to be under the floor. So they have to pick away at all of this now, which we won't be a part of.
The archaeological team will go on to recover some 19th century pram wheels, a wooden spinning top, old beer bottles, 2 mummified cats, and some old butchery bones, putting the past to rest and allowing the property owners to build for the future.
But it's a great end to what has been quite a journey.